The huge meeting room on Nex Prime buzzed with nervous energy. Admiral Vextar stood at the center of the circular chamber, his 6 arms crossed behind his back. Around him sat the most powerful beings in the Krillian Empire. Generals, admirals, and war chiefs from 12 star systems had come to discuss their final conquest. For 3 years, the Empire had swept across the outer rim worlds like a storm. Planet after planet had fallen to their superior weapons and tactics. The crystalline beings of Zephyr had surrendered after one battle. The machine worlds of Sector 9 had calculated their odds and submitted without firing a shot. Even the proud warrior clans of the asteroid belt had bent the knee after seeing what Krillian plasma cannons could do to solid rock. Only one system remained unconquered. Sol, a small, unremarkable star with 9 planets. Only the 3rd planet mattered. The inhabitants called it Earth. General Kazrak slammed his armored fist on the metal table. Why do we waste time with this meeting? The humans are primitives. They barely have spaceflight. Their strongest weapons are crude nuclear bombs. We could take their world with a single battlecruiser. Several other generals nodded in agreement, but Admiral Vextar remained silent. Something bothered him about this conquest, something that made his scales crawl with unease. Tell them about the warnings, he said to his intelligence officer. Commander Thelmar activated the holographic display. Images of various alien species appeared in the air above the table. Every species we have encountered has given us the same message about the humans. Every single one. The first image showed a Zephyrian crystal elder. Its voice echoed through the chamber, translated from light patterns into spoken words. Do not go to Earth, leave the humans alone. You do not understand what they are capable of. The next image showed a sectoid queen, her hive mind voice speaking for billions of her children. We have seen what humans do when threatened. Do not wake them from their peaceful slumber. For your own sake, stay away. Image after image appeared. The ancient ethereals, who claimed to be older than the galaxy itself. The void-dwelling shadows who had never shown fear of anything. The machine intelligences who calculated all possibilities. All of them said the same thing. Don't go to Earth. General Kazrak laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the metal walls. Cowards, all of them. These species fear humans because they have grown weak. We Krillians are different. We are warriors born for conquest. But why do they all say the same thing? Asked Admiral Yuntar, an older female whose battle scars spoke of countless victories. In all our conquests, we have never encountered such universal agreement. Even our enemies usually try to encourage us to attack their rivals. But about humans, they all agree. Stay away. Commander Thelmar continued his report. Our scouts have observed Earth for 6 months. The humans appear to be a typical pre-space civilization. They have roughly 8 billion individuals spread across one planet. Their technology is primitive. Chemical rockets for space travel. Nuclear weapons that are thousands of years behind our energy weapons. Their military forces use kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. You see, General Kazrak stood up, his massive form towering over the others. They are nothing. We waste time listening to the fears of defeated species. But Admiral Vextar had fought many battles. He had learned to trust his instincts. Something about this felt wrong. What else do we know about them? They appear to be divided into many small nations, Thelmar continued. They fight among themselves frequently. Our analysis suggests they spend more resources on warfare than any species we have encountered. Even their entertainment focuses heavily on conflict and combat scenarios. A warrior species, mused Admiral Yuntar. That could explain why other species fear them. But primitive warriors cannot stand against our technology. Admiral Vextar studied the holographic display showing Earth. A blue and green world, beautiful in its way, peaceful looking. But something nagged at him. What did the ethereals say exactly? Play their message again. The ancient alien's voice filled the chamber. Its words were spoken in the old tongue, translated by the computers. The humans sleep, and it is good that they sleep. They have forgotten what they once were. Do not remind them. For when humans remember their true nature, the galaxy trembles. What does that mean? Asked General Kazrak. Riddles and nonsense. The ethereals have grown senile in their old age. But Admiral Vextar felt a chill run through his body. The ethereals were the oldest known species. They claimed to have seen the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations. They did not speak in riddles without reason. Still, the pressure from the Empire's leadership was clear. They wanted this final world conquered. The Outer Rim campaigns had been expensive. The Emperor needed to show the people that their sacrifices had been worthwhile. A complete victory, total control of the outer systems. Very well, Admiral Vextar said finally. We will take Earth, but we will be careful. 3 battlecruisers, 50,000 troops. Overwhelming force for a quick victory. General Kazarok smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Finally, I volunteered to lead the ground forces personally. No, Vextar said firmly. I will command this operation myself. If the warnings have any merit, we cannot afford mistakes. As the meeting broke up, Admiral Yuntar approached Vextar privately. You are worried, she observed. Every instinct I have tells me this is wrong, he admitted. But the Empire demands results. Perhaps the warnings are just fear of change. Perhaps the humans are simply unknown, and unknown things always seem more dangerous than they are. Perhaps, she agreed, but I have never seen you doubt yourself before. Admiral Vextar looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth continued its quiet orbit around its yellow star. Soon, Krillian ships would darken its skies. He hoped it would be as easy as General Kazarok believed, but deep in his heart, he feared it would not be. Meanwhile, on Earth, Marine Colonel Jake Murphy sat in a secured briefing room beneath the Pentagon. Around the table sat President Lisa Carter, General Ben Rodriguez, and a dozen other senior officials. On the main screen, satellite imagery showed 3 large objects approaching the edge of the solar system. How long do we have? Asked the President. 18 hours until they reach Earth orbit, replied Dr. Rachel Kim from NORAD. Their approach vector suggests they're not trying to hide. General Rodriguez leaned forward. They expect us to surrender immediately, just like every other world they've conquered. Colonel Murphy smiled grimly. They're about to learn why every other species in the galaxy told them to stay away. President Carter nodded. Signal all units. Operation Sleeping Bear is now active. Across Earth, millions of people began moving according to plans they had rehearsed for 5 years. The aliens thought they were attacking a peaceful world. They had no idea what was waiting for them. The 3 Krillian battle cruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Their massive forms cast shadows across the small blue planet as they moved into attack position. Each ship stretched over 2 miles long, bristling with plasma cannons and energy shields that could deflect nuclear weapons. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator. Through the viewport, Earth looked so small and helpless. No orbital defenses, no energy shields protecting the planet. Just a world spinning peacefully in space, unaware that its time had come. Open communication channels to the planet, he ordered. His communications officer worked quickly at his station. Channel open, Admiral. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Vexitar straightened his uniform and activated the recording system. His message would be transmitted in several Earth languages that their computers had learned from intercepted broadcasts. Inhabitants of Earth, he began, his voice carrying the authority of countless victories. I am Admiral Vextar of the Krillian Empire. Your world is now under our control. You have 1 rotation of your planet to surrender completely. Lay down all weapons. Gather in your major cities for processing. Any resistance will result in the destruction of your entire species. He ended the transmission and waited. Usually, primitive worlds responded within minutes. Panic. Desperate attempts at negotiation. Pleading messages from their leaders, but Earth remained silent. Sir, reported the communications officer after an hour, we are receiving a response. Put it on screen. A human female appeared on the main display. She sat behind a wooden desk in what appeared to be an important building. The flag behind her showed the symbols of one of Earth's larger nations. I am President Lisa Carter of the United States of America, speaking for the people of Earth, she said calmly. We have received your demand for surrender. Admiral Vextar leaned forward. Finally, they would beg for mercy. The human woman looked directly into the camera. Her eyes were steady, showing no fear. Our answer is no. The transmission ended. General Kazarok, who commanded the ground forces, laughed from his position on the bridge. Brave words from a primitive. Let us show them what their bravery costs. Begin orbital bombardment of major population centers, Admiral Vextar ordered. Focus on government buildings and military installations. Avoid excessive civilian casualties for now. The 3 ships opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked down from space, striking targets across Earth's surface. The aliens watched their screens as explosions bloomed in cities across the planet. But something was wrong. "Sir," reported the tactical officer, confusion clear in his voice. "The human population centers appear to be empty." "What do you mean, empty?" "Our sensors are detecting massive underground movement. The humans seem to have evacuated their major cities through tunnel systems we didn't know existed." Admiral Vexitar stared at the tactical display. According to their intelligence, Earth's major cities held hundreds of millions of people. Now those cities stood empty, their streets deserted except for what appeared to be decoy equipment. How is this possible? "We gave them no warning of our approach." "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving multiple transmissions from across the planet. They appear to be taunting us." "Put them through." A dozen human voices filled the bridge, speaking in different languages, but all carrying the same message. They were laughing. Actually laughing at the Krillian fleet. One voice stood out, speaking in accented standard. "Welcome to Earth, you ugly space bugs. Hope you brought body bags," General Kazarok snarled in rage. "Land the troops. I will teach these humans proper respect for their betters." 2 hours later, the first Krillian dropships descended toward Earth's major cities. General Kazarok personally led the assault on the settlement called New York. His ships landed in the empty streets, their engines scarring the primitive concrete roadways. Captain Zulkar led his battalion through the deserted streets. Their energy weapons were ready, their sensors scanning for human life signs. But the city felt wrong. The buildings stood intact despite the orbital bombardment. The streets were clear, but there were no bodies, no signs of panic. "Sir," one of his soldiers reported, "I'm detecting movement in the structures above us." Captain Zulkar looked up at the tall buildings that lined the street. Windows stared down at them like empty eyes. Probably just frightened civilians hiding. "Continue the advance." That's when Staff Sergeant Amy Lewis triggered the first trap. The explosion came from below, not above. The street erupted beneath the alien column, sending soldiers flying in all directions. But this wasn't a simple bomb. The humans had turned the city's own infrastructure into a weapon. Before the aliens could recover, more explosions followed. But these weren't random. They were coordinated, planned, designed to split the alien forces and drive them into specific areas. Then the real attack began. Humans emerged from hidden positions throughout the city. They came from sewers, from buildings, from tunnels the aliens didn't know existed. But these weren't panicked civilians or even regular soldiers. These were warriors who had been preparing for this moment for years. Captain Zulkar tried to rally his troops, but the humans were using tactics he had never encountered. They didn't stand and fight like honorable warriors. They struck from hidden positions and disappeared before the aliens could respond. They used the city itself as a weapon, turning every street corner into a potential ambush site. Worse, they seemed to be enjoying themselves. "Take that, space boy," shouted one human as he fired some kind of projectile weapon that shouldn't have been able to penetrate Krillian armor, but somehow it did. The humans had studied captured alien technology. They had prepared specifically for this invasion. Every piece of equipment, every weapon, every tactic had been designed to counter Krillian advantages. Back on his flagship, Admiral Vexitar watched the reports coming in from his ground forces. Similar attacks were happening in cities across the planet. The humans weren't just resisting, they were winning. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Their weapons are primitive." Dr. Rachel Kim's voice crackled over the communication system from somewhere on Earth's surface. "Admiral, this is Dr. Rachel Kim of the North American Defense Command. I thought you might want to know. We've been watching your species for quite some time. Every piece of technology you use, every tactic you employ, every weakness in your equipment. We know all of it. Impossible. We use quantum encryption." The human woman laughed. "Admiral, we've been in space longer than you think. Did you really believe we were stuck on one planet? We've been studying you for decades. We know exactly how to hurt you." As if to prove her point, energy weapons began firing up from Earth's surface. But these weren't human weapons. They were Krillian weapons, captured and reverse-engineered. The first energy bolt struck the Dominator's shields. The second one penetrated them. Admiral Vexitar felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest. Fear. On the surface, Colonel Jake Murphy coordinated the global defense from a bunker hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around him, screens showed the battle raging in cities worldwide. The aliens were superior in technology and numbers, but they had made a critical mistake. They had assumed humans would fight like every other species they had conquered. Stand-up battles, honorable tactics, predictable responses to superior force. Instead, they got human warfare. Guerrilla tactics, psychological operations, improvised weapons, and most importantly, a species that had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing other humans. Phase 2 is ready, reported his aide. Colonel Murphy smiled grimly. Begin Phase 2. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. 3 weeks had passed since the invasion began. What should have been a quick conquest had turned into a nightmare that Admiral Vextar could never have imagined. His forces were scattered across Earth's surface, fighting a war unlike anything in Krillian military history. The humans didn't fight like other species. They didn't mass their forces for large battles that could be won with superior technology. Instead, they fought from shadows, from tunnels, from places that shouldn't exist. Every building could hide an ambush. Every sewer could conceal a strike team. Every piece of rubble could explode when stepped on. But the worst part wasn't the tactics. It was how much the humans seemed to enjoy the fighting. Captain Zulkar crouched behind the wreckage of his command vehicle in what used to be downtown Chicago. Half his battalion was dead or wounded. The other half was trapped in buildings throughout the city, fighting small groups of humans who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Sir, his communications officer whispered, we're receiving another one of those broadcasts. Zulkar closed his eyes. The human broadcasts had started on day 5 of the invasion. They were transmitted on Krillian military frequencies, somehow penetrating their encrypted channels. Put it through, he said wearily. A human voice filled their helmets, speaking perfect Krillian. Good morning, ugly space bugs. This is your daily weather report. Today will be hot with a chance of explosions. Tonight will be dark with heavy gunfire. Tomorrow's forecast, more dead aliens. The voice changed to another human, this one female. Hey Krillians, we've got a joke for you. What's the difference between a Krillian invasion force and a bunch of target dummies? Target dummies are harder to kill. Laughter filled the channel before the transmission ended. Zulkar's remaining soldiers looked at each other with growing fear. The humans were supposed to be terrified. They were supposed to beg for mercy. Instead, they treated the invasion like some kind of game. Far beneath the city, Staff Sergeant Amy Lewis checked her improvised weapons one more time. Around her, a mixed unit of Marines, Army Rangers, and civilian volunteers prepared for their next strike. They had been living in the city's underground tunnels for weeks, emerging only to attack the confused aliens above. Target is a Krillian supply depot, she briefed her team. Intelligence says they're running low on power cells for their energy weapons. We take out this depot and they'll have to rely on backup equipment. Private Danny Wright raised his hand. Sergeant, how do we know their backup equipment? Amy grinned and hefted a captured Krillian plasma rifle. Because we've been studying their gear for 5 years. We know their equipment better than they do. These plasma rifles, they overheat after sustained fire. Their armor? Weak spots at the joints. Their shields? They can't protect against kinetic impact and energy discharge at the same time. The team moved out through tunnels that had been secretly expanded for decades. The official story was subway maintenance and utility work. The real purpose had always been preparation for exactly this kind of invasion. Above ground, the aliens never knew what hit them. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Ocean, Captain Tony Garcia stood on the deck of what appeared to be a civilian cargo ship. To alien sensors, it looked like harmless human commerce. They had no idea it was actually a military vessel disguised to look primitive. Target acquired, reported his weapons officer. Krillian cruiser bearing 270, Garcia smiled. Fire when ready. The cargo containers on the ship's deck opened to reveal missile launchers. But these weren't ordinary missiles. They were reverse-engineered alien weapons built using captured technology and human engineering. The missiles streaked upward toward the Krillian ship in orbit. The aliens had time to detect the incoming weapons, but their defensive systems were calibrated for alien technology. Human modifications made the missiles behave in ways the Krillian computers couldn't predict. The first missile struck the alien ship's shield generator. The second one hit the main engine. The third one punched through the hull and exploded inside the ship itself. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as his second cruiser began falling toward Earth's atmosphere, its hull glowing with re-entry heat. In 3 weeks, he had lost more ships and soldiers than in his entire previous career. Sir, His aide approached carefully. We're receiving reports from all ground units. Human attacks are intensifying. They appear to have reverse-engineered our weapons and are now using them against us. That's impossible. It would take years to understand our technology. Sir, with respect, they seem to have had years. Intelligence is reporting that humans have been preparing for this invasion long before we arrived. Some of their equipment suggests they've been studying our technology for decades. Admiral Vextar felt his confidence crumbling. How could they have been studying us for decades? We only discovered them 6 months ago. His intelligence officer approached with a data pad. Sir, we've been analyzing human communications. It appears they have been aware of our existence for much longer than we realized. References to preparing for contact go back over 50 years in their military documents. The truth was starting to emerge. The humans had known about the Krillian Empire long before the Empire knew about Earth. They had been watching, learning, preparing, on Earth's surface. Dr. Sam Peterson worked frantically in a hidden laboratory beneath the Nevada desert. Around him, teams of engineers and scientists reverse-engineered captured alien technology at impossible speed. How long until the new weapons are ready? Asked Major Linda Foster, the military liaison. 6 hours, Peterson replied without looking up from his work. The alien power systems are actually quite simple once you understand the basic principles. Elegant but predictable. Foster watched as human engineers took apart alien weapons and rebuilt them with human improvements. Can we really make them better? Peterson looked up and grinned. Major, these aliens have been using the same basic designs for centuries. They've gotten comfortable, predictable. Humans have been at war with each other for thousands of years. We've never stopped innovating ways to kill things. He held up a modified alien energy rifle. This weapon has 3 times the power output of the original. Better cooling system, more reliable trigger mechanism, and it's designed so that only humans can operate it. How? Biometric locks. If a Krillian tries to use it, it explodes. Foster stared at him. You weaponize their own guns against them. Major, when humans get mad, we don't just fight back. We make sure the problem never happens again. Back in space, Admiral Vexitar received a communication that chilled him to his core. It wasn't from his own forces. It wasn't from Krillian Command. It was from the Zephyrian Council, transmitted across interstellar space. Admiral Vextar. The crystalline alien's voice resonated through his bridge speakers. We warned you not to go to Earth. We warned you that humans were different. Now you understand why every species in the galaxy fears them. What are they? Vextar asked desperately. What are humans really? They are what we all could have become, the Zephyrian replied. They are evolution's answer to the question. What happens when a species never stops learning how to survive? Every war they fight makes them stronger. Every enemy they face teaches them new lessons. And they never ever forget. The transmission continued. Admiral, you have 2 choices. Retreat now with what forces you have left, or continue fighting and learn why there are no other species in Earth's solar system. The humans didn't start alone on that planet. They ended up alone. Admiral Vextar looked out at Earth, that small blue world that had cost him so much. For the first time in his military career, he was considering retreat. But then General Kazarok's voice crackled over the communication system from the planet's surface. Admiral, I refuse to retreat from primitives. Order orbital bombardment of all human population centers. If we cannot conquer them, we will destroy them. Admiral Vextar closed his eyes. He knew, with the certainty of a lifetime warrior, that this was the decision that would doom them all. The orbital bombardment of civilian targets was General Kazarok's final mistake. Admiral Vextar watched from his flagship as plasma bolts rained down on human cities. He had hoped the show of overwhelming force would finally break human resistance. Instead, he had just learned why every alien species in the galaxy had warned him to stay away from Earth. The humans didn't break. They got angry. Colonel Jake Murphy stood in the command center beneath Colorado, watching real-time satellite feeds of the bombardment. Cities burned. Millions of innocent people died. Around him, his staff waited for orders, their faces grim with contained fury. Sir, his communications officer reported quietly, we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different nations. They want to negotiate with the aliens. Murphy never took his eyes off the screen showing burning cities. Signal all units. Operation Sleeping Bear is now Operation Grizzly. No prisoners, no mercy. No aliens leave the system alive. The change in human behavior was immediate and terrifying. Captain Danny Wright had been leading hit-and-run attacks against alien forces in New York. His team had been following rules of engagement, trying to minimize casualties, fighting a defensive war. That changed the moment they received new orders. "Listen up," he told his squad in the tunnels beneath Manhattan. "The gloves are off. These space bugs just killed millions of civilians. Command wants every alien on this planet dead. No exceptions." Private Kate Morgan checked her captured alien weapons. "What about prisoners, sir?" Wright's expression was colder than space itself. "What prisoners?" Above them, Captain Zulkar was about to learn the difference between humans fighting for defense and humans fighting for revenge. The attack came from everywhere at once. Not just from the hidden tunnels and abandoned buildings, but from the very air itself. Human aircraft that had been hiding in underground hangars emerged to fill the sky. But these weren't the primitive chemical-powered machines the aliens expected. These were reverse-engineered alien fighters, rebuilt with human modifications and flown by pilots who had spent years learning to fight in 3 dimensions. Air Force Major Susan Hayes led the first squadron of hybrid fighters into battle above New York. Her aircraft looked like an alien design, but flew with human tactics the aliens had never seen. "Target the command vehicles first," she ordered her pilots. "Don't let any of them coordinate their retreat." The aerial battle was swift and brutal. Alien pilots had centuries of experience fighting other aliens who followed predictable combat patterns. They had no idea how to fight humans who treated every rule of space combat as a suggestion to be ignored. Hayes dove her fighter directly at an alien gunship, playing a game of chicken that no sane pilot would attempt. At the last second, she rolled beneath the alien ship and fired directly into its engine intake. The alien pilot, trying to avoid collision, flew directly into the crossfire of 2 other human fighters. "Scratch 1 bug," Hayes reported with satisfaction. On the ground, the tide of battle was turning even more dramatically. Human forces that had been fighting defensively for weeks suddenly went on the offensive. But this wasn't just counterattack. It was systematic extermination. Staff Sergeant Amy Lewis led her team through the streets of Chicago, hunting down surviving alien forces. They moved with precision and coordination that spoke of years of training. Every movement was calculated. Every shot was fatal. "Contact 2 o'clock," reported one of her soldiers. Amy looked through her scope at a group of alien soldiers trying to evacuate their wounded. 3 weeks ago, she would have let them go. Today, she put crosshairs on the alien medic and pulled the trigger. "No survivors," she reminded her team. "They wanted to kill our families. Now we kill all of theirs." But the most shocking change was happening in space itself. Commander Tony Garcia stood on the bridge of what had been the cargo ship, but was now revealed as humanity's first space warship. Around him, similar ships were emerging from hidden positions throughout the solar system. "Target the damaged alien cruiser," he ordered his weapons officer. "Full spread, all missiles." "Sir?" his navigator interrupted. "That ship is trying to retreat." Garcia's voice was ice cold. "I said target the ship." The human missiles streaked across space toward the crippled alien vessel. The Krillian ship tried to return fire, but human weapons were now designed specifically to counter alien defenses. Every shot hit its target, but destroying ships wasn't enough for the humans. They wanted the technology. Captain Mike Turner led a boarding party onto the dying alien vessel. His team wore captured alien armor, modified with human improvements. They moved through the ship's corridors with military precision, clearing each section methodically. "Remember," Turner told his team over their communication system, "we need their navigation computers intact. Command wants to know where these bugs came from." The alien crew fought desperately, but they were fighting humans in enclosed spaces. There was no contest. Within hours, Turner's team had captured the ship's entire database. Star charts, fleet positions, the location of the Krillian homeworld, everything. On his flagship, Admiral Vextar watched his invasion force die. 2 of his 3 cruisers were destroyed. His ground forces were being systematically hunted down and killed. The humans weren't just winning, they were learning. Every piece of Krillian technology that fell into human hands was immediately reverse-engineered and improved. Every tactical mistake the aliens made was exploited ruthlessly. Every weakness was turned into a fatal flaw. "Sir," his communications officer reported with barely controlled panic, "we're detecting human ships launching from the planet's surface." Impossible. Humans don't have spaceflight capability. Sir, they appear to be using our own technology, but modified. Our sensors can't get accurate readings on their capabilities. Admiral Vextar realized with growing horror what was happening. The humans weren't just defending their planet. They were preparing to go on the offensive. His worst fears were confirmed when a human voice filled his bridge, speaking perfect Krillian. Admiral Vextar, this is Admiral Susan Hayes of the Earth Defense Force. I'm calling to offer you terms. You offer me terms? Vextar replied, trying to maintain his dignity. You have two choices, the human continued calmly. Surrender now and we'll let you live long enough to carry a message back to your empire. Continue fighting and we'll follow you home. The threat was delivered without emotion, which somehow made it more terrifying. You cannot threaten the Krillian Empire, Vextar said. You are primitives trapped on one world. The human woman laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. Admiral, we've been studying your technology for decades. We know where your worlds are. We know your military strength. We know your weaknesses. And now, thanks to your invasion, we're angry enough to do something about it. Admiral Vextar looked at his tactical displays. Human ships were forming up around his position. Not primitive chemical rockets, but advanced vessels built from captured Krillian technology and powered by human innovation. What do you want? He asked finally. Complete surrender of all Krillian forces in this system, the human replied. Full access to your ship's databases, and a promise that you'll deliver our message to your empire. What message? That humans are no longer contained to Earth. We're coming to the stars, Admiral. And we remember everyone who tried to hurt us. Admiral Vextar looked around his bridge at his terrified crew. For the first time in his long military career, he was considering surrender to a species his empire had dismissed as primitive. But as he watched more human ships appear on his sensors, he realized the truth that every other alien species had tried to warn him about. Humans weren't primitive. They were patient. They had been preparing for this day for longer than anyone realized. And now they were ready to teach the galaxy what happened when someone threatened their home. Admiral Vextar made his choice. Standing on the bridge of his crippled flagship, surrounded by human warships that shouldn't exist, he did something no Krillian admiral had ever done in the Empire's 1,000-year history. He surrendered. This is Admiral Vextar of the Krillian Fourth Fleet, he broadcast on all frequencies. I surrender my forces to the humans of Earth. The words tasted like poison in his mouth, but the alternative was extinction. He had watched his entire invasion force get systematically destroyed by a species his empire had dismissed as primitive. Now he understood why every alien civilization had warned him to stay away from Earth. Within hours, human boarding parties had secured his ship. But these weren't the desperate defenders he had expected to face. These were professional soldiers wearing advanced armor and carrying weapons that were clearly superior to his own force's equipment. Captain Mike Turner led the team that took control of the Dominator's bridge. He moved with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Behind him, human technicians immediately began connecting their equipment to the ship's computers. Admiral, Turner said politely, President Carter would like to speak with you. The main screen activated, showing the same human woman who had refused their surrender demand weeks ago, but now she sat not in an office on a conquered world, but in what was clearly a military command center, with the activity of a species preparing for war. Admiral Vextar, President Carter said calmly, I want to thank you for making the wise choice. Your cooperation will save many lives. What do you intend to do with my forces? Vextar asked. Your surviving soldiers will be treated well according to our laws of war. Your ships will be studied so we can better understand Krillian technology. And you, Admiral, will carry a message back to your empire. Vextar felt a chill run through him. What message? President Carter leaned forward in her chair. That Earth is no longer a target for conquest. We are now a player in galactic affairs, and we have very long memories about who our enemies are. The screen switched to show images that made Vextar's blood freeze. Human shipyards in space building vessels that combined human and Krillian technology. Human soldiers training with captured alien equipment. Human scientists working with technologies that should have taken them centuries to understand. How is this possible? He whispered. Dr. Sam Peterson appeared on the screen beside the president. Admiral, humans have been preparing for contact with alien civilizations for over 70 years. When we detected your empire's expansion, we began planning for eventual conflict. Every piece of technology we could observe or acquire was studied. Every tactical pattern was analyzed. We knew this day would come. General Ben Rodriguez joined the conversation. What you encountered wasn't humanity defending itself, Admiral. It was humanity testing itself against galactic military standards, and we passed that test. The images on the screen changed again, showing something that made Vextar's worst fears reality. Human fleets were already departing Earth, heading toward the outer systems of the galaxy. Where are they going? He asked desperately. To introduce ourselves to our new neighbors, President Carter replied. Every species that warned you about Earth is about to meet us properly. We want to thank them for their concern. Captain Danny Wright, now promoted to Admiral, appeared on screen from the bridge of one of the departing human ships. Admiral Vextar, we've had some interesting conversations with the alien species in nearby systems. The Zephyrians, the sectoids, the ethereals. They've been very helpful in explaining galactic politics to us. What did they tell you? Vextar asked, though he feared the answer. They told us about the Krillian Empire's expansion plans, Wright continued. 47 systems marked for conquest over the next 50 years. Billions of sentient beings scheduled for subjugation or elimination. Admiral Susan Hayes appeared on another part of the screen. We've decided we can't allow that to happen, Admiral. Humans have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good beings to do nothing. We're done doing nothing. The truth hit Admiral Vextar like a physical blow. The humans weren't just defending Earth. They were positioning themselves to become the galaxy's new superpower. Your empire conquered 12 systems in 3 years, President Carter continued. Impressive. But you made one critical mistake. You assumed Earth would be like all the others. You assumed humans would surrender when faced with superior force. The screen showed more images, human colonies being established on captured Krillian worlds, alien species that had been enslaved by the Empire now working alongside human administrators. Former Krillian territories declaring independence with human military support. We're not conquerors, Admiral, Carter said. We're liberators. Every world your empire enslaved is now free. Every species your people oppressed is now under human protection. General Rodriguez smiled grimly. Your empire spent centuries building a military machine designed to conquer primitives. We spent decades building a military machine designed to fight you specifically. Guess which approach worked better? The communication ended, leaving Admiral Vextar alone with the human guards and the terrible knowledge of what he had unleashed upon the galaxy. 3 months later, Admiral Vextar stood before the Krillian High Council on Nex Prime. Around him, the most powerful beings in the Empire listened in stunned silence as he delivered his report. The humans have established colonies in 17 systems, he reported. 43 formerly Krillian worlds have declared independence with human support. Our outer territories are in open revolt. Emperor Krelnax, ruler of the Krillian Empire, slammed his armored fist on his throne. How can primitives from one world defeat our entire military? Your Imperial Majesty, Vextar replied quietly. They were never primitives. They were waiting. Explain. Vextar activated the holographic display, showing images captured during his retreat from Earth. The humans have been aware of galactic civilization for longer than we realized. They observed us, studied us, prepared for us. When we invaded Earth, we weren't fighting a primitive world. We were fighting a species that had spent decades learning how to kill us specifically. The images showed human technology that surpassed anything in the Empire's arsenal. Ships that outmaneuvered Krillian vessels, weapons that penetrated Krillian shields, soldiers who fought with a combination of advanced technology and tactical innovation that no Krillian could match. But the worst part, Vextar continued, is that they're not done. Human fleets are expanding across the galaxy. Every species that was our enemy is now their ally. Every world we oppressed now looks to Earth for protection. Then we will destroy Earth, Emperor Krelnax declared. Gather our remaining fleets. Prepare every weapon we possess. Your Imperial Majesty, Vextar said quietly. With respect, we no longer know where Earth is. The silence in the chamber was deafening. The humans have technology we don't understand, Vextar explained. They can move their entire planet through space. They can hide their ships from our sensors. They can be anywhere, anytime, and we won't see them coming until it's too late. As if summoned by his words, the chamber's communication system activated. A human voice filled the room, speaking perfect Krillian. Greetings, Krillian High Council. This is Admiral Danny Wright of the Earth Defense Force. We're calling to offer you terms for surrender. The Emperor rose from his throne in rage. Never. The Krillian Empire does not surrender to primitives. The human voice remained calm. Your Imperial Majesty, you're not surrendering to primitives. You're surrendering to the new dominant species in this galaxy. The choice is simple. Surrender now and retain control of your core worlds, or continue fighting and lose everything. We will never surrender. Very well, the human replied. Admiral Vextar, thank you for delivering our message. You fulfilled your part of our agreement. Your people are free to go. The communication ended. Emperor Krelnax turned to Admiral Vextar. What agreement? Before Vextar could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the Imperial Palace. Through the chamber's windows, they could see human ships materializing in orbit around Nex Prime. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Admiral Vextar looked up at the human fleet with something that might have been relief. Your Imperial Majesty, he said quietly, I made the only agreement I could. I traded the Empire's surrender for the survival of our species. You had no authority. I had the authority of someone who has seen what humans do to their enemies, Vextar replied. And the wisdom to recognize when a war is already lost. The human voice returned, now broadcasting from speakers throughout the city. Citizens of the Krillian Empire, this is President Lisa Carter of Earth. Your government's reign of conquest is over, but your lives as free beings are just beginning. Admiral Vextar looked out at the human ship surrounding his home world and thought about the warnings every alien species had given him. Don't go to Earth, don't wake the humans from their peaceful slumber. Now he understood why. The humans hadn't been sleeping. They had been waiting. And now that they were awake, the galaxy would never be the same. In the months that followed, the transformation was swift and complete. The Krillian Empire became the Krillian Republic, with human advisors helping to establish democratic institutions. Former Slav,